Hey, it's Mazzy. I'm here with Vinyl Richie.
Hey,
Now,
it's Lionel Richie.
hey, Vinyl Richie.
Yeah,
Vinyl Richie and I go back, way back. We've done collaborations before, right? We have
yeah,
kind of a parallel universe of experience. Now,
yeah, kind
you
of. I'm a like two. I think my experience was like maybe 2 years behind yours, but there are a lot of parallels. I mean, you saw Bob Marley like in '76. I saw him in '78. There's a lot of stories like that.
and
You
you
saw,
you're kind of the Los Angeles counterpart to me now.
yeah, that's kind of true.
Okay, this series is called Trading Places, where we switch each other's home. We take some liberties there because I allow people or I ask people to either showcase San Francisco Bay Area or Seattle, and they can do whatever they want. Now, in Richie's case, he's in Bakersfield now. He's lived there many years, but he also lived a long time in Los Angeles. So tell us about that. When was this?
Well, I was born in Bakersfield, '76. I moved to the Los Angeles area and I went to Cal State LA. And I ended up staying there from '76 to 2000. We moved.
Okay.
The
And
the
well,
pandemic, they announced that they were going to close the brewery in January. And then the pandemic restrictions all happened and it worked out that it was cheaper for us to move here and
you're back to your roots. Now, let me,
yeah,
okay, so for people around the world that don't know, Bakersfield is in this part of the San Joaquin Valley, right?
yeah.
Which is the agricultural central valley of California, where
Actually, it's of the United States. There's
right,
more produced here per acre than anywhere else in the whole
absolutely,
country.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it had a music scene, limited to scope. That's why I couldn't just do Bakersfield. But obviously, the artists I picked from Bakersfield are obvious choices. But I expanded to LA, and I think Richie and I actually experienced a lot of the same punk bands at that period. I think we were kind of tighter, even though we might have been a year or two different age-wise. I was seeing LA bands and San Francisco bands, of course, other bands coming in San Francisco. A lot of the LA bands would come, obviously, play the Mabuhay Gardens and the Def Club and the San Francisco punk, pop-ups. And I'd go down occasionally to Madame Wong's and a couple. What's the cowboy one? What's that?
That was in
What's it
Burbank,
called?
huh?
What is it called? It was a cowboy name, and I'm blanking out.
Yeah. I know which
Ex-White
one you're
there.
talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
I
I went down
saw
there a few times.
Dwight Yoakam there.
Okay, but they had a lot of punk shows. The place I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not the Palomino, is it? No,
It might be the
it's something
Palomino.
like that. Someone's going to put in the comments because they know better than we do, but whatever. So this series is I show five or six or so records of Vinyl Richie's homeland, and he shows five of my homeland, and we just talk about music, and the other person will chime in when appropriate or when they feel like it. And there's a link below to Vinyl Richie's channel, so make sure. He always busts my balls if I don't promote him here.
Yeah,
So
come on, man.
yes, okay.
I never mind. I'm not gonna go there because I live for subs. Let's just put it
It's
that
okay.
way.
All right, you go first because since you're the guest king,
Okay.
you're a Dodger guy. I'm a San Francisco Giants guy. So there we go.
Yeah, yeah. There's the Giants are dirty scoundrels.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start
we don't
with
have to pay to win.
the huh?
We don't have to pay overpriced to win.
Actually, all the teams pay to win.
Okay.
We're just lucky we don't have a billionaire that's cheap. So I'm gonna start it with the Chocolate Watch Band. And this is their first album, No Way Out. Came out in '67. Now they're from south of Frisco. It's like
San
40
Jose.
miles
They're
south, I
like the
think.
San Jose area,
Yeah, they're north of San Jose.
like the peninsula. They're on the
They're
peninsula.
not Los Altos. Is that a place?
Los Altos is kind of near Stanford and Menlo Park.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's I think that's where these guys came from.
Right.
This is a classic garage rock psych garage psych album. It's fantastic. Now, the problem is on this album, their second. I picked up two records. On this one, side one, it's all, I think it's all LA session musicians. I don't think they recorded side one when the band was out on tour. And I think the band is on side two. This one here is pretty much all garage. Side one of this is more of a fluty. There's some saxophony, like,
It's more
oh
spacey.
man, trip out, psychedelic, you
It's
know?
spacey. It's like space rock in a way.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really good, even though they're not actually on the band, on the album. But side two is, it goes back more to the garage rock, except for one song, Let's Go, Let's Go, Let's Go. That's the wanker on the album. It's kind of like a 50s rock and roll thing, and it just sticks out like a sore thumb.
It's a cool cover, isn't it?
Yeah. And then they had one more album, was, I can't remember the name of it, 69, and none of the band is on that album at all. But the thing that's amusing about this record is on the back, look at all the people they thank. It's like, what the hell?
You know, it's kind of like
You might even be on there, man.
I probably am. No, do you, in fact, because we lived in Menlo Park for a few years, and I went to, I started going to Hebrew school in Los Altos before we moved back to San Francisco. But that reminds me of the band, obviously Electric Prunes.
Oh yeah.
They did that one album, the B minor. It's like the
Yeah,
cold,
something in D
and
minor.
it's really not even them. It's David
Yeah.
Axelrod with them doing some vocals, and that's about it. He did the whole
Yeah.
thing, so it's a
I
similar
I
thing.
I think on that album they all actually play on it, but just little bits here and there.
Right.
And then after that album, it's totally all that Axelrod Buckhead.
Okay, I'm gonna start out with Bakersfield, but let me preface by saying I did one of these recently with John Digital Gramophone, North Carolina. Now, some places are hard because North Carolina, my connection, most of them were artists that were from there, but none of them really got famous there except one, you know. There's certain places. So in a way, the this is the opposite, doing it with you, with Bakersfield in LA. A lot of people are not from Bakersfield, but they became famous because of Bakersfield or because of them playing there. And the obvious choice, everyone's going to know if they know about the Bakersfield scene, is Buck Owens. This is a Sundays reissue, and we're not talking about really audiophile, but this was a reissue Sundays did. Kevin Gray cut it. But this is Buck Owens' first album in 1961. It was on Capitol Records, recorded at the Capitol Studios. This is a fantastic record. He's like the honky tonk country guy.
Yeah.
Bakersfield sound was kind of like came about in the 60s as the opposite of Nashville. It kind of like a
Yeah.
precursor for the all the guys who came out of Austin in the 70s, like Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings.
It's kind of in that same
It's
vein.
like, fuck you, Nashville. We can do some stuff. And obviously, Capitol Records, it's always, you don't always think about Capitol, the Beach Boys and Nat Cole and Sinatra and the Beatles. You don't off the top think of country, but they had a huge country catalog too, obviously. So
Yeah.
this is a great album. And I just pulled three. One of his hit singles, I got a Tiger by the Tail, Buck Owens, and the Buckaroos. Buckaroos were also this band that backed him from Bakersfield as well. This is a great album. And I got this album, and I want to just really show it just for you, Vinyl Richie, because I think of this album, and I think you're living in a house now that was once owned by your mother. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and now she's passed to the great beyond. This is Dust on Mother's Bible.
That's a good album.
This is a great, this is his first like
It
gospel
it's
type.
gospel songs, but it's done Buck Owens style.
It's
It's
so
really
good.
good.
I
Yeah.
love gospely, inspirational songs. I just love that cover. Look how well groomed they are. Not like those fucking punk artists that people just wear t-shirts all the time, right?
Yeah.
There's a little style there. Dust on Mother's Bible,
Yeah.
Capitol Records, their first complete album of joyous inspirational songs. He did some on other albums too, but he's a great guitar player. So let's,
So is Don Rich. His
Yeah.
They
And
both played guitar,
Gene,
and they both harmonized
yeah,
so well
yeah.
together. I mean,
And of course, as you know, there's always a Beatle connection. You know what the Beatle connection is, right?
well, the Beatles covered "I Want to Be in the Movies" or what was that one?
Act naturally, exactly.
And also the guitar sound.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Down, 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 down,
yeah,
down, down, down,
yeah.
down,
What is it? Is
down.
it Rickenbacker guitars?
I think well, George was playing first, not the Rickenbacker. I think he was playing the Gretsch, either the Jet Glow or the Country Gentleman. The Country Gentleman was one of the big guitars, but the what do they call the Buckaroos? They were doing like telecat, that telly sound.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, I'm not a guitar guy.
Yeah,
I don't
but Harrison wasn't playing a telly back then, I don't think so.
know. No,
All
okay.
right, your turn.
Yeah, about Buck Owens, he actually had more number one hits than any other country artist in the 60s. So screw you, Nashville. And and also Nashville, one thing they didn't like about him, some of their drum riffs were they said it was too rock and roll. And another thing is he would cover like Chuck Berry songs and they would use a slur and say you're doing that kind of music, you know? So fuck you, Nashville. Okay, my next one,
Yeah.
I think it's a one hit. I think they only did one album, and it's the Serpent Power. And
You
this
know, I've never
also
heard
came
that
out.
record. I've never heard that record, but I
It,
know I've seen it, but I've never heard it.
do you know who David Metzger is? Or he's supposed to be a beat poet or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, him and his wife are the two vocalists.
They look like
This
a
also,
cult.
what's that?
They look like a beat cult.
Yeah, they kind of do. This guy here, man, that looks like me, dude. Kind of, oh
It's
well,
like
dude.
it's
When
like
I back in the
I like that
70s.
mustache. It's like a Jesse Colin Young mustache. That
That
second.
might be the guy, the singer guy, the Metzger, the beat
Is
poet
that
guy.
on Vanguard? What label is that on?
Yeah, it's on Vanguard.
Okay.
It's pretty it's got like the organ's kind of heavy and the guitars are not it doesn't sound like real electric-y guitars. It's kind of like a folky sound. And there's a male female singer. Um I prefer the female singer.
Is that like
And
67, 68? Do you
yeah,
know?
this came out. I'm going to do these in chronological order. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
this came out in '67,
Okay.
and yeah, it's really good.
It's kind of that crossover time when, folk artists were doing a little
Oh,
psychedelic.
they're the yeah.
And
It's not a
labels like
folk. It's not a folk album
but
at all.
labels like Vanguard and
Yeah, they
Elektra, who were
Vanguard was
really
a great
they were
label
doing
back then.
blues and folk records, and they merged into psychedelia a little bit
Yeah,
and rock and roll and blues. Yeah,
it's been a while since I've heard this.
I don't have that record. I'd like to.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it a
pretty
rare
good.
record?
Yeah, it's a good album.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to LA because this is the time where you and I were going to shows, I think. And this is my favorite of the LA punk bands because to me, they
X.
they offered something more than just, you know, mosh pit shit. Obviously, the John Doe and Exene Cervenka, the harmonies are kind of atonal. Like she's not like a great singer, but they work really, really well.
Man, it's
You like,
something special, huh? When they're two
right?
together.
1980, their debut, produced by Ray Manzarek, another LA staple from the Doors, a Doors keyboard player. He produced most of their first, what, 4 or 5 albums.
I think at least their first three. It
And
might be
I pulled
four.
I pulled 3 albums, not the first three, but this is a great. I mean, just the way they played so fast and so hard. It's funny. I saw them like a dozen times around this period. Once in LA, and the rest they'd come through San Francisco all the time. And every time you'd see them play, you have the guitar player Billy Zoom almost looked like he didn't fit in with the rest of the band. He looked like this rockabilly guy, and they weren't like that rockabilly style, but he had always had that smile when he played. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
And he
yeah.
almost seemed like they just brought him in from Central Casting or something in rock and roll, but he was so great and great band. They do on here a cover of Soul Kitchen, the Doors song, like three times as fast or four times as fast as
Yeah.
Doors.
That
Then I
that's for me.
Wild Gift.
Yeah, that's a good.
This is the
I
third
want to
one.
tell people that know my channel. They know the Billy Zoom story. Do you know the Billy Zoom story with me?
I don't, so share it.
Okay,
I've heard you say, but I don't remember.
I was at the Whiskey a Go Go. I don't remember what band was playing, and some guy came up to me and he goes, "Hey, can I have your autograph?"
Oh, I did hit me.
And I go, "Huh? What are you talking about?" He goes, "Aren't you Billy Zoom from X?" And I go, "No." Because when I was younger, I kind of looked like how he looks on the back of that first cover. And I go, "No, I'm not Billy Zoom." And he goes, "I understand you don't want to be, signing autographs." And I go, "No, no, that's not it, dude." And I go, "Okay, I'll give you."
Much
So I
alike.
gave him an autograph, Billy Zoom. So someone out in the world has a Billy Zoom autograph that was really done by Vinyl Richie. So, yeah.
The song I remember got a lot of airplay on college radio, but this album is White Girl. That's
Yeah,
it's a great,
that
great.
that actually I believe was a single before their first album even came out, White Girl.
Was it?
Yeah, on
These
Danger
records were
House.
all on Slash Records, and then were picked up. Then they went to Elektra, or picked up by Elektra.
Yeah, before they were on Slash, they did some singles on Danger House.
Right.
So that Wild Gift album, to me, the best songs on that are the older ones that they were doing when the first one came out. I think the first album is actually better than Wild Gift. Some
Yeah,
people Wild Gift's their
absolutely.
favorite.
Yeah, the first albums are best, but then they started growing. I think they're one of the early adopters, or they really influenced a lot of Americana bands because they started doing this rootsy stuff. Now, I know you don't like sub name genre stuff. Americana's country rock and folk and all that, but this record is the one that really kind of gets into that a little bit of the Americana thing. New World, that opening track, it's not as fast, and they do a cover that was a cover for the remake of Breathless, the
Yeah,
French
that's I
film.
hated that. They covered Breathless, didn't they?
I like it.
Oh,
I like it.
I
They
I
used it in the Rich's
I
Weird.
actually I stopped buying their records after that, except for singles.
Such a loser, then. This is a great record.
But no, I have the record. I have them all now. I bought them after the
They did
fact.
it. I
But when
didn't
they
bring
were,
it up here, but then they did that great collaboration under the name The Knitters, where they bring in,
that's a great out. That is
yeah,
actually a good
that's like kind of
album.
a country folky, like the updated version of the Weavers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great
Dave
album.
Alvin from the Blasters.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
that's it.
really like that Knitters album.
LAX, and they're on their like farewell, never-ending tour right now.
Yeah, they're gonna play Bakersfield. I think it's this week or next week.
I'd go see them if I saw. They were the last band I
I
saw before the lockdown.
I heard they're still they put on a very good
They do.
show.
They're good. They're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now this third one I'm showing is probably a band that's a little more known than the first two, and that's a Blue Cheer.
Yeah.
This is their 67 demos. This is the guitar on this is pretty heavy guitar for 67. I don't know of any other band that was really playing this hard.
They invented heavy metal.
That's what some people say, you know. But this is really good. This was a record store day release.
I don't
It's
have
only
one.
one side of music. I think that the other side had like a really short advertisement they did for something. But yeah, this is really good. Really good. And then they had their album. This is the one that kind of blew up. The one that had the hit Summertime Blues.
I know you don't know how to pronounce it, so I will for you because you always fuck it up.
Vincissibus Eruptum.
Exactly. Vincimus Eruptum.
Yeah, something like that.
Vincimus Eruptum.
Now
I
I
love
remember
that record.
I went to my cousin Guy. He was a few years older than me, so I would listen to I would hear stuff that I'd never heard before at his house, and I played this album over there, and I knew the song "Summertime Blues," but I didn't like the rest of the album. I go, eh. But yeah, this is a really good
Out
album.
of Focus is great on that. Our garage band used to cover that song, Out of
Out of
Focus.
Focus, yeah, I think Out of Focus is actually on here too.
Down,
But
down,
anyways,
down, 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 down.
this
Yeah.
one here, their second album, this is maybe the first heavy metal album. This thing is heavy. And the difference between this and the other one, Well, this one here too is pretty heavy, but
It's
the
very heavy.
bass, and this is called what is it? Inside Outside,
Yeah.
because they recorded some of it inside the studio and some of it outside, and that's
Didn't the producer, someone at the studio thought they were too loud? They played too loud to be in the
yeah.
studio or something.
I like that, man. I think that would have been a good
Is that
cover.
you?
Yeah.
Did they say they look like the guy in a bar come to you and say, "Can I have your autograph?" You think you're Dickie Peterson?
No, no. Dickie Peterson, I think he was the only consistent member, huh? After
Well,
this.
after the first three albums or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
And then I'm gonna show the third one. This is New Improved Blue Cheer. Now, I didn't like this album. And the fourth album, I bought that and I purged it. I didn't like that. The second side two of this has Randy Holden on guitar, and it's more similar to this. It's very like hard rock, blues rock, kind of psychedelic blues rock. Side one though has like hints of crappy bands like Poco, that kind of. But now I love that. I love that side one. But yeah, back then I didn't at
You know,
all.
the first two studio and live Poco records with Jim Messina are great.
I
His
saw Poco
guitar player.
live, and
All
I
right.
actually they opened for Jefferson Airplane, and
Wow.
I didn't like them.
Okay. My turn?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm going with an artist who defines genres or indefine. You can't put him in any one genre. And I think he grew up in the LA area. He went
Captain Beefheart.
Captain Beefheart.
Oh man, I got it. I can't believe that.
Now, this is the first album. You know who was in the band here?
Ry Cooder,
Ry Cooder's in the
that
band.
wanker
And
guitar
then he
player.
leaves. I love the story that Ry Cooder tells. I mean, I'm getting off topic, but what the fuck? We're just hanging out. When he got signed to label, he didn't have a great guitar. So they said, go down to Fullerton, the Fender guitar factory, and pick out a guitar. You know, they would pay for it. Of course, anytime a record company pays for it, it comes out of your royalties.
Yeah, at the
If
end,
you
yeah,
get royalties, exactly.
yeah,
But he went out and picked up he picked up the Stratocaster, and then he brought it to a guy he knew who had an auto body shop, and that's the one with that kind of turquoisey color that's on the digital album he did, Bop to You Drop. That's the guitar he got at this point, but he left soon after. But Captain Beefheart, of course, this is the debut. This is his Magic Band, Safe as Milk. And of course, now did say this once. The only record when I would, what year did this come out? 68 or 9?
69, I think, was it?
69. The only record, and I could admit this now because the statute of limitation is over. There used to be a department or a novelty store called Grants. There was Woolworths and Grants. They were like competition, same kind of thing in this mall nearby. And I went in, they had a record department near the back door, and I stole this record. I had a corduroy coat. I'm not proud of it. I brought it home. I listened to it. I couldn't take it. So a couple days later,
You returned it?
I returned it, and I said, I got this as a gift, and I thought it was something else, and I don't remember what I said. They let me take something else.
Yeah, they
So,
they did back in them days.
yeah. But especially a department store, unlike a record store. But
Yeah,
you know, and then there's court. I have Clear Spot. I have most of his records and Shiny
that's
Bing.
a good album, Clear
This is
Spot.
good too. Now, this is a record he recorded, and Herb
Fat
Cohen,
Chain Puller.
yeah,
Yeah,
Herb Cohen, who was Zappa's manager and worked with Captain Beefheart, used
yeah,
money that was supposed to go for Zappa's budget or money to pay for this. So Zappa held on the tapes. He had to re-record a lot of it.
yeah.
He is this mix of, I mean, this is proto-punk, this is avant-garde jazz, this is folk, this is
Swampy blues.
blue, a lot of blues, a lot of rock and roll.
Yeah,
But if you taking aside this, maybe take this off the table for a little bit. You listen to stuff, it's really cool avant-garde bluesy jazz stuff, but with
yeah.
vocals and beat poetry. There's a lot of poet stuff. Like on this one, there's a lot of like spoken word with the music. He's actually speaking the lyrics rather than singing them. And a lot of great musicians went through his band. So
Yeah.
there we go. The Magic Band and yeah, the Magic Band.
Yeah, Captain Beefheart and the Magic. I like Captain Beefheart. I have all of his albums. I was gonna do a ranking video.
It's hard.
I would say probably this January, it'll be 2 years ago. I couldn't get through I mean, after listening to him, I go, man, I can't handle any more of this guy right now. And I just put it off and put it off, and I've never done it. But yeah,
Uh,
he has a lot of did you showed oh, you didn't show Clear Spot. I like that one too.
I have most of his records. You know what's good is Bongo Fury, the one with Frank Zappa.
Frank Zappa, that live one, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good record too.
Yeah. Okay, my fourth one, I believe, is another band that's only released the one album, as far as I know. And this is Neighborhood Children. And this is on that famous curvy street in San Francisco.
Lombard Street.
Yeah, yeah. They actually started in 1963 in Oregon, and they were known as the Navarros. They moved to Frisco. I think they lost 3 members. I mean, they moved to San Francisco. I'm sorry. I think they lost 3 members, maybe some of them due to the Vietnam War, and then that's when they changed their name to this. This is a really good Psych album. This one has more electric guitar than that Serpent Power one does, but again, it's that male female vocals, and I think maybe she has a better voice too. If you're into Psych, San Francisco Psych music,
It's a little
this
more
is one
poppy.
to
It's a little
seek
more
out.
poppy though. It's a little more poppy.
The first song on side 2 is very poppy.
Yeah.
They do a cover of Over the Rainbow. Now, some people hate it, but I actually think it kind of works. But yeah, I like this album, man. I give it a big thumbs up. I mean, that's the picture of the band right there. They don't
That's
look
that's
they don't quite look as cultish as that
that's
other
hard to
band.
get that album too.
Yeah, it is. When I saw it at Underground Records, I go, "Oh, that's if
I
it's
don't
in
think
good shape."
it's not really expensive though, but it is it?
No, I don't think it's that expensive.
Yeah.
Under 100 for sure, probably.
Oh, I thought it was like 25 or 30 tops.
No, I think it's more than
You
that. But
don't
who
know?
knows? Who knows? I mean, I'm sure somebody can find it for 5 somewhere.
Okay, I'm going back to Bakersfield, the Bakersfield sound, and the obvious choice is Merle Haggard and the Strangers. The Strangers also. Now, what's great about it, a lot of these songs, like on here, "The Bottle Let Me Down," Emmylou Harris did it later. You know, a lot of these people like Graham Parsons, Emmylou Harris, and really got into this sound. There's a dry sound of country stuff. It's not overly lush produced like a lot of the Nashville stuff was. But it had a great sound. And again, another artist on Capitol Records. In 1960, he gets out of San Quentin prison. He hears Johnny Cash and he just says, I'm going to do that. And he does it. But a lot of hits too. Maybe not as many, but I don't know. He didn't have as many as Buck Owens, maybe more in the 70s too. But this record is great. But my favorite record and song by far is I'm a Lonesome Fugitive.
Yeah, that's a
I'd
good
like to
album.
settle down, but they won't let me. I'm on the run. The highway is my home. I like when he says, um, I raised a lot of cane back in my younger days. My mama used to pray my crops would fail. I mean, fuck, if your mother is praying against your crops, you got shit going on here. Life
Yeah,
in prison, drink up and be somebody. This, if you don't have any, if you don't want to get a greatest hits record, this is the best Merle Haggard record from my point of view. And then, of course, the big breakout that a lot of us counterculture young people got into was Okie from Muskogee. Huge hit. A lot of people think he was mocking the whole hippie thing, which he was, but supposedly he said he did it tongue in cheek years later because he became like a pot smoking hippie in his elder days with Willie Nelson and all that. But there was a great, I don't know if you remember, the Youngbloods did a song called Hippie from Olema. And Olema's up near Point Reyes in Marin County. So they did like their answer. It's not as good, but this is a great
no,
live record recorded live in Muskogee, Oklahoma. You could totally hear the crowd go wild. Massive hit, great record. This is probably
yeah,
1969 too, I think. I'm not sure.
The
Oh, White Line Fever. That is one of the greatest.
That's
Uh,
a good song.
it's a great driving trucking song. It's
Yeah.
not, you think of cocaine, later on, White Line Fever, but it's about watching that highway and falling
Probably
asleep.
on speed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Branded Man. I mean, this is a great record.
Yeah.
Merle Haggard.
That that song Okie from Muskogee, that song didn't go down too well with the long hairs, with us long hairs in Bakersfield.
But it sold well.
It
Even a
was
lot
like
of,
a real clash. I
but
mean,
even, I think even the rock and roll FM station would play it just for like
not in Bakersfield they
shits
didn't.
and
But we
giggles.
didn't. I don't even know if we had a FM station when I was a kid. But AM played such a good music back then. But yeah, I listen to a lot of people that make videos and they talk about the metalheads and the punkers. They would clash. That's how it was when I grew up. We didn't care for country music until later. I mean, I knew Buck Owens. I like Buck Owens more than Merle Haggard, but I love both of them now.
I almost, here is Bakersfield, and I kept thinking it's right near Stockton, but Bakersfield's only 2 hours from LA, but it's
Yeah,
about, what, 3 or 4 hours from Stockton.
yeah. We're in the middle of Fresno and
Right.
LA. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there, but I just, I keep thinking, because I was thinking of Chris Isaac from Stockton, but he is, never mind.
Is that where he was from?
He's
That's
from,
just
but he started Silvertone and then the band Silvertone I don't know if it came out just before he moved to San Francisco. That was his kind of new wave, not punk band, but new wavy band,
yeah,
Silver.
he was kind of punky, I heard.
Well, he was new wavy, but he
Yeah.
had that Roy Orbison thing. I still like Chris Isaac. I think he's
Yeah,
great.
I like that first album. I haven't really heard any of his
Yeah,
others.
it's good. Your turn.
Okay.
Is
Another San
this your last?
Francisco band from
Your
the
last?
90s. We're gonna go with this guy here, sitting on a toilet, The Mummies. And this is running on Empty Volume 1. This is a comp that came out in 96. I should have showed this one first. They kind of refer to their music as budget rock, but I think you remember Maximum Rock and Roll, the
Yeah,
magazine?
yeah.
They refer to these guys as no-fi. I mean, lo-fi doesn't even doesn't do it justice. These guys were like on the very low end of the lo-fi spectrum. But I love it, man. It's the first side is songs that they recorded before they were actually called the Mummies. And the second side is a live set in San Francisco. And there's probably, what, 20, 30 people there. But man, they really got the crowd going. It's
Does it say
really a
where it is?
good,
Does this say where it was recorded? What club?
it probably does, but I'm not going to go through this. And I don't remember. And then, yeah, this one here is another comp. This came out the
Oh, I
same
love that
year as
cover. That's a
their
great
most,
cover.
huh?
It's a great cover.
Yeah, these guys would perform wrapped in like mummy, they look like mummies. And the main guy that played the organ, man, he would like throw the organ around, and they're pretty raucous.
Remember
But yeah,
that
this is
band
a
that dressed like monks and they shaved the middle part of their head? The Monks, I think they're called the Monks, right?
yeah, that I think they had one album. I've never come across that album, but I heard it's a really good garagey psyche band album.
Okay, my last one is an artist that this are two solo records I picked, but he was in my favorite American band ever, the Byrds. That's Gene Clark. That's Gene Clark. Uh,
Yeah.
Gene Clark in 1964 meets Roger McGuinn, Jim McGuinn at the Troubadour, and the rest is history. He was the songwriter, and the band, unfortunately, became a little jealous of him because after that first album that was so big, Mr. Tambourine Man, he's the one that drives up in the sports car because he gets publishing money, and the rest of the band doesn't. Because I feel like a whole lot better, which was a hit, he wrote. They didn't write their songs, and it's unfortunate that I mean they wrote some songs later on, McGuinn and Crosby, but he was the songwriter in the band and kind of the main. Well, they were co-singer, obviously him and McGuinn and Crosby, but he left. Unfortunately, he was afraid of flying. He leaves
Yeah,
the
I think the fear of flying had a lot to do with
yeah,
it. Yeah.
67 he leaves, and he wrote almost all of 8 Miles High, but then the others kind of finished it off and helped it. But what a great songwriter! But the sad part, in a way, I mean, this is a great record, but I could totally see why it bombed at the time. It's with the Gazan brothers, kind of these folky, kind of singer-songwriter country guys. Two of the Byrds, Gene Clark and Chris Hillman are on it. I mean, Mike Clark and Chris Hillman, but also you got a bunch of the Wrecking Crew. You can hear Campbell's playing and Leon Russell and everything. But this is like this is country-ish, folk country and Baroque pop with lush strings. But this came out like almost the same time as Younger Than Yesterday by the Byrds, and of course that had So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star. This album was lost. It's been reissued several times. I think Sundays and some other. It's really a good record, but I can totally see why in 1967 this would not be a hit. These are the Gosden brothers. It's just a weird concept for the time coming out of the Bird. It's more folky country than the Birds, less rock on here.
Yeah, I've never heard a Gene Clark solo album.
Oh, well, this is the one you might like the best. This is considered
Yeah,
his cult record. And
that's the one
again,
in 70 or
in
something.
1974, this came. So this
Okay.
is 50 years old now, and it's got some country things, but it got some dirgy rock. If you ever heard those albums, what's the 4AD band that did all those covers? They did three albums, and there was a CD box. It was like the greatest artists on 4AD, um, like Cocteau Twins and all those, and they
The
would
Pixies?
and well, they weren't on it, but what's it called? This Mortal Coil, and they covered songs like dark songs, and they do some Gene Clark songs. But this is a really good record, produced by Thomas wasn't I'm excuse me, Thomas Jefferson Kay. David Geffen hated it and didn't promote it, and it almost doesn't fit in with what was happening at the time, but it's become a one of his most popular solo records, cult records, because it's a dark record in a way like Nick Cave, but doesn't sound like Nick Cave. But if Nick Cave was doing more rootsy stuff, it might sound like this. But ahead of its time probably, but no other by Gene Clark.
Yeah, I think Gene Clark is probably more popular in the vinyl community than the Byrds are. I see a lot of people raving about his solo albums.
He's
So
one
I,
of those
I need
guys.
to check them out.
He died at like what 48, 49 years old. Died in 91, I think. And had some drug alcohol problems. He did a bunch of solo records over the years after a lot of country and acoustic rootsy stuff, collaborations. I saw him around the time this came out at the Keystone Berkeley. My friend Vernon and I went. The place was like half full. It was a standing room. Uh,
Yeah,
just wasn't pulling him in.
it didn't click. Yeah, he
No.
he he didn't get the. It probably had something to do with what he was doing, but he also didn't get promoted either.
He didn't get promoted. He didn't do the PR thing. He would,
Yeah,
yeah. But he was
he
touring
didn't like to
for a while.
fly in airplanes. That kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's it.
I got one more.
Oh, okay,
My
go.
fifth one,
All right.
and of all these, this is the most prolific person, and this is Ty Segall. This is his album Melted.
That's the worst cover. I'm sorry. I hate that cover.
Yeah, it's pretty low
Did
budge,
someone
really.
walk up to a club and think that was you, like when you were that age?
Yeah, yeah. That's what when they walk up to me now, that's what they think. Hey, are you that guy in that
Ty
Melted
Segall
cover?
album cover?
Yeah. This is his third album. Came out in 2010. This one here came out in 2014, Manipulator. This is fantastic. This is check out the pretty yeah, this is a double album. Ty Segall, Manipulator. I highly recommend this album. Really good. And then he's I think he has 15 solo albums, and he probably has that many where he's collaborating or he's like in the band Fuzz. This is with him with the Freedom Band, and this is just as good as Manipulator. And yeah, Freedom Band are Freedom Goblin. This is I saw Ty Segall with the Freedom Band, and it was one of the loudest concerts I've ever been to. I was like the second, and I filmed some of it. It's on my YouTube channel. I was like the second behind. There's one guy in front of me and then the stage, and this one guy was setting up the stage, and he came down and he started talking to us, and he goes, "You guys know that this is going to be really loud, don't you?" And I pulled out my pocket. I had like my earplugs, and he goes, "Yeah, okay, you know." But they had two bass players on the side of the stream or stage where I was at, and man, it was like,
Two bass players at once?
yeah, two bass players. They
Wow.
had he plays guitar. He plays guitar and drums. So they had two bass players, two guitar players, and then they had two drummers if you count him. So yeah, it was pretty good. And I'm going to show two more records. This is a collaboration he did with White Fence. It's called Hair. You can't really read it, but it says Hair right here. It's Ty Segall and White Fence. This is a psychedelic album. Really good. If you're into psychedelic music, highly recommend that. And I thought I would show this other collab he did with White Fence. And White Fence is he's like a one-man band, just kind of like how he is on a lot of his records. But yeah, that's him with his dog. I think he takes his dog everywhere. And that's it.
So
I figured I would show 5 bands that you weren't real familiar
but
with.
that's the
That way
best
this
way.
this video won't go on for 2 hours, you know.
That's the best way to do it. And I'm glad we're not getting just people doing Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead,
Yeah,
James,
I
Journey,
saw the one you did with
Counting
that
Crows.
I saw the one you did with the 6-inch penis, and he showed like Sly and the Family Stone, and I think he might have showed Jefferson. And I thought,
No,
you
he
know what, I'm
showed
gonna go in a
the only
different
other big
direction.
group he showed was CCR. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's great to do obscure things. I'm going to be doing more of these over the next year, probably one every few weeks with people. But it's not always easy choosing the city that they're big in. So, I mean, it's loose, so there's no rules to it, but it's
Yeah,
more or less like LA and Bakersfield in your case. But
yeah. LA and San Francisco are pretty easy to do. When
exactly.
you're
Yeah.
when you're talking some little town
Oakland,
in
San
North
Francisco.
Carolina, that's gonna be harder.
Right,
You
right.
kind of have to do the whole state, maybe, or
People can
or
do
or, or like you
Seattle.
said, people that moved from there.
People can do Seattle on with me too. I'm fine about that. So.
So you already uploaded the digital gramophone?
It's up now. This morning it
Oh,
went up. So by the time
wow.
people are watching this, this will be the week after that digital gramophone.
And I thought I was going to be the second one.
You're at number three. That's three. You
Yeah.
don't want to be that sophomore slump.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
No
All right. Well,
respect. Lionel
uh,
Richie gets no respect in the
if you
VC.
don't subscribe to Vinyl Richie, do it. There's a link below to it. And
Yeah, I please subscribe, and I encourage thumbs down.